Dominance of palm oil is very obvious here, accounting for world palm oil exports, accounting for 56% of all exports of all oils and fats. Quite considerable. Now let us look briefly into some of the key drivers in the European Union. We have seen biodiesel-driven demand explosion, which was initially targeted by the government to be based on domestic production only. This is one of these, wishful thinking ideas. We can do it ourselves. We were quite successful in rapeseed, and this was surprising. I would say we made major improvements in our rapeseed yields and production, but still, and I've summarized this, over the past 5 years, European consumption exploded by 7.4 million tons, and approximately half of that came from domestic production, but the rest had to be imported. And the European Union now has become the biggest importer of all oils and fats, with more than 10 million tons to satisfy expanding biodiesel production. And we have seen recently that biodiesel production was better than expected. Despite the partly critical margins relative to crude mineral oil, we have further increased biodiesel production and biodiesel consumption, partly due to the mandates and growing mandates, increasing mandates for admixture of biodiesel to crude mineral oil or to diesel fuel, now also in Southern Europe. Driver, we have discussed China. John did this, so just a summary here. China accounting for 50% of the oilseed trade, with a total imports of 43 million tons, and is the second largest importer of oils and fats. Considerable expansion. China cannot feed itself. The problem is that acres are being lost every year. Difficult to say how much, probably 0.5 million hectares lost every year, probably due to erosion, due to infrastructure and other uses. So they have a problem, and they are going to continue to be a growing importer of oils, of oilseeds, and ultimately also of meals in the future. India, another example. In India, oil imports today account for 50% of their production. They simply cannot increase their production with many farms at a farm size of only 1 hectare. Very, very difficult. And on top of that, they have weather problems in the current year. So India and the boost in Indian vegetable oil imports, soybean oil and palm oil imports contributed to the relatively tight scenario for oils and fats. And you can see this here, considerable growth in production. Considerable growth in imports. Now let us look at key factors determining supply, demand, and prices. First, El Nino. We are in a situation where we are going to have at least a moderate El Nino, probably strengthening. This is not clear yet, but at least a moderate one stretching until December, probably early 2010. Now, what does this mean? What does this mean for our markets? Clear evidence that Malaysia and Indonesia suffered from rainfall deficits of between 15 to 35% from normal in May, July. This was quite significant. The oil palms, the coconut trees, they can survive 1 or 2 months of dryness, but 3 months, 4 months, they begin to be stressed. And this stress normally is affecting production with time lags. In palm, the time lags are 10 months, and there's another time lag of 24 months. But we have already seen that production has suffered due to lower fruit weight or weight of the fruit bunches. So we have seen a slowing down of production in palm oil already, which has kept palm oil stocks at a low level, at a tight level. The growth in production in the current season, October, September 08-09, which is now coming to an end, is only 1.3 million tons. Malaysian production declining, Indonesian production only increasing slightly. And for next year, we have moderated our forecast, and we are now looking at an increase in production by only 2.5 million tons, which is not enough to satisfy world demand. So palm oil, which has been the driver over the past 10 years, suddenly is affected. Is this an opportunity for soybeans and soybean oil? Let's look at this. So this is one of the impacts of El Niño, an effect on palm and lauric oil production. Also lauric oil in Indonesia and Malaysia, not in the Philippines. As far as the weather statistics we receive are concerned, El Niño has not yet been a big factor here. Now, back to palm oil, the growth of consumption is going to slow to just 4.5% because of very low stocks at the start of the season and because of lower than expected production. So palm oil is turning bullish for next season, particularly in 2010. Long term, we are expecting further substantial growth, but in the near term, palm oil supplies are not sufficient for 2010 to satisfy demand. A second effect of El Niño is in India. The Indian monsoon failed. The southwest monsoon failed. Average precipitation was only 26% of normal so far in June, August, which is a failure. And production is down considerably in groundnuts, but also in soybeans, way down from the average, and also way down from current official estimates, and also USDA is far too high in India. So India will remain a very important importer of vegetable oils and will have less soybean meal for export than expected. We also have less rainfall in Argentina, less rainfall in Australia, with only a minor impact on our market. But on the other hand, the El Niño is likely to improve rainfall in Argentina and southern Brazil, and therefore it's going to have a bearish impact on soybeans. El Niño normally contribute to favorable rain in South America, and we expect that September, December 2009 is no exception. So my conclusion is, and price impact for 2010, El Niño is bearish for soybeans and soybean meal, bearish price impact, but it's going to be bullish for vegetable oil prices, and it could be very bullish for vegetable oil prices. This is still too early to say. Another factor we have to look at is the European policy. We do have a zero tolerance GM policy. I mean, it's, believe it or not, we work with 0.0 tolerance when it comes to imports of agricultural commodities, which is totally unrealistic. And this is a policy which the trade cannot live with. I mean, 0.0 tolerance, this air here is not 0.0 clean, right? It's very unrealistic, and at